The market on Crixa 7 was a place of noise, neon, and desperation. Traders barked out prices, engines roared as cargo ships docked and departed, and all manner of beings, alien and human alike, moved between stalls and shadows. It wasn't a place for innocence. It wasn't a place for kindness. And yet, among the chaos, she stood. Slanina, a lean, silver-skinned woman of the Elyari race, clutched her trembling child to her chest. Her daughter's pale lavender hair was matted from the dust, and her thin arms curled around her mother's neck with a weariness no child should know. Salina's own body bore the bruises of hunger and exhaustion, but her gaze remained clear, resolute, and proud. Still, she couldn't deny the weight pressing down on her. Her daughter hadn't eaten in 2 days. She had no more credits, no more trade goods, and no more favors to call in. And so, with a heart breaking into quiet shards, she stepped onto the slate block. Jace Corvin wasn't looking to buy anyone. The ex-military engineer had come to Crixa 7 for parts, fuel, and a half-decent cup of something hot before heading back to his transport, the Dauntless Sky. He didn't enjoy walking the crowded slave sections. Too much suffering, too many bad memories. But his shortcut through the alley brought him right to the front of the auction block. That's when he saw her. The Elyari woman. Her clothes were torn and stained. Her daughter clung to her leg, silent and hollow-eyed. The auctioneer shouted her stats like she was nothing more than cargo. Elyari, female, age 27, standard years, former scholar class, healthy, willing, with youngling. Take both for 100 credits. Starting bid. 100 credits. That was a day's fuel, a week's worth of groceries, and yet Jace saw the way she looked at her child, the way her lips pressed into a trembling line when someone in the crowd laughed. He saw the pain and the pride she hadn't let go of. Before he even realized what he was doing, his hand went up. She didn't speak at first. When the auctioneer handed them off and the credits transferred, Selena stood beside Jace like a ghost. Her daughter clung to her side, watching him with wide, unreadable eyes. "You're free to sit wherever," Jace muttered awkwardly once they reached his ship. "Got some food in the galley, blankets too. You both look half frozen." Still nothing. Jace turned to walk away, but a soft voice stopped him. "You bought me?" she said quietly. "Why?" He turned back. "I didn't buy you. I saw what was happening, and no one else was going to stop it." Selena's silver eyes narrowed. "You don't expect obedience." "No. Servitude?" He shook his head. "I'm not that kind of man." She didn't understand it, and that scared her more than chains. Days passed. Jace made no demands. He gave them his bunk and slept on the floor of the engine room. He shared his food, ran diagnostics, and occasionally muttered at broken power couplings. Selena watched him like a wary cat, always poised to flee, but slowly something in her began to thaw. Her daughter, Levy, was the first to smile. It happened one morning when Jace offered her a warm cup of nutrient broth and made a clumsy joke about the engine sneezing itself awake. Levi giggled. Then Selena laughed softly too, for the first time in what felt like years. They weren't free yet, not really. The scars ran too deep, but they were safe, and that was a beginning. Selena told her story on the 4th night. She sat across from Jace in the dim light of the galley, her daughter finally asleep in a real bed. She spoke slowly, like each word was a risk. "I was a historian on Elyar Prime. Our world was beautiful, peaceful. But then the raids began. The syndicates took everything. burned the archives, took the scholars. My mate, he tried to fight. They shot him. I ran. Jace listened without interrupting. I ended up on Crixus 7. No family, no friends, no credits. I sold my tools, my clothes, even a few pages of Elyari history. But it was never enough. Her voice cracked. So I sold myself. He looked at her gently. You shouldn't have had to. She laughed bitterly. That's the thing about hunger, human. It doesn't care what you should have to do. Over the following weeks, the ship changed. Jace installed a learning module for Livy. Selena repaired the broken data station and began digitizing the stories of her people. They shared quiet meals and long conversations about human myths and Elyari lore. She taught him how to recognize Elyari star patterns. He taught her how to fix a cooling manifold with only a spoon and duct tape. The walls between them cracked further each day. One evening, as they sat beneath the stars, she asked, "Why do you help us?" Jace hesitated. "Because someone helped me once when I didn't deserve it, and maybe I've been waiting for a chance to pass that on." Her fingers brushed his hand. A quiet, simple gesture, but it meant everything. Trouble came, as it always does. A pirate ship flagged them down near the Nix Belt, claimed it had authority to search for escaped property. Someone from the Creeksaw market must have flagged Selena's ID. Jace stood at the airlock, gun in hand, heart pounding. "You don't have to do this," she told him, voice shaking. "Give me up. Save yourself." He looked at her with fire in his eyes. "No, they don't get to take you again." The pirates boarded. A fight broke out. Shots echoed in the metal corridors. In the end, Jace stood bleeding but victorious. He'd taken a blast to the shoulder, but the pirates were dead or fleeing. Selena cradled his head in her lap, weeping, her tears streaking her silver skin. "You're insane," she whispered. He smiled, even through the pain. "Only for the right causes." Months passed. By the time Jace's arm fully healed, Selena was sleeping beside him, not out of obligation, but out of choice. Livy called him Da with a shy grin, and the ship was a home now, not just a vessel, but a sanctuary. The galley was filled with warmth and laughter. The engine room played host to bedtime stories and secret games. They weren't perfect. They had ghosts, both of them, but they had something more powerful, too. They had each other. One day, docked at a peaceful trade station far from syndicate territory, Jace turned to Selena with something clenched in his palm. It was a simple ring, twisted copper and a shard of Elyari crystal they had found on a derelict moon. "I know I didn't buy you," he said softly, "but I'd like to earn you, if you'd have me. Not as a savior, not as a captain, just as your partner." Selena stared at him, eyes shimmering. Then she placed her hand over his and whispered, "You didn't just save me, Jace. You reminded me how to live." He slid the ring on her finger. Levi danced around them, giggling with joy. In the vast coldness of space, love is a rare warmth. And for a woman who had sold herself to feed her child, and a man who never asked for more than truth and kindness, that warmth was enough to melt even the deepest scars. They never returned to Crixus 7. They didn't have to. Their future was among the stars. Together years passed. Quietly, steadily, the stars watched them grow. Jace and Selena transformed the dauntless sky into more than a freighter. It became a haven for others, a vessel of refuge. News of what they did began to spread on hidden channels. The coded signal DS-12 became a whisper among the desperate. a place where no one was sold, where freedom still breathed. Karatli Levi, no longer the silent child who clung to her mother's leg, grew into a sharp, brave young girl. She learned to repair hull damage faster than Jace and could quote ancient Elyari poems from memory. Selena once feared her daughter would grow up knowing only fear. Now she feared nothing at all, except that this peace might one day be shattered. It was during one of their supply runs to Virex Station that they saw the posters. Wanted. Name, Jace Corvin. Alias, Human Trafficker Killer. Reward, 75,000 credits. The bounty was placed by the Scarce syndicate. Their encounter in the Nyx belt had not been forgotten. Sir Lynette stared at the poster for a long time. "Leave me," she murmured. Jace, standing beside her, shrugged. "Yeah, well, I tend to leave an impression." But Levi wasn't smiling. "What do we do now?" They had a decision to make: run and stay hidden, or take the fight to those who kept others in chains. They chose the second. With Selena's knowledge of syndicate operations and Jace's military training, the dauntless Sky became a spear instead of a shield. They freed others, alien mothers, human deserters, hybrid children marked as defective. Levi dubbed them the Starseed family, and that name took root in the underground. One night, after a successful raid where they freed a dozen captives from an illegal auction ring, Jace lay awake, watching Selena breathe beside him. Her face, even in sleep, was peaceful now. He remembered the first time he'd seen her, how hollow she'd looked, how tightly she held her child. And now? Now she was fire and calm and storm and home, all at once. He whispered, "I didn't just find you. I found myself in you." Her eyes opened slowly, and she reached out to trace the old scar on his shoulder. "And I in you." The final confrontation came sooner than expected. The Scarce syndicate found their location. A massive gunship loomed over the colony they had recently helped rebuild on Oron 3. Civilians screamed, children cried, panic bloomed. But the dauntless Sky did not flee. Jace sent Levi with the younger evacuees into the caves. Selena kissed her daughter's forehead with trembling lips. "You are light, Levi. You are the reason stars exist." And then they turned to face the darkness. The battle was fierce. Explosions rocked the earth. The ship groaned. Jace was injured, again shielding a group of alien elders. Selena used an old Elyari frequency pulse to disable one of the enemy's cruisers. At the peak of it all, when the Scarce commander demanded Selena surrender herself, the escaped merchandise, she stepped forward without hesitation. And Jace held her hand. "No, not this time. Never again." Instead, they broadcasted the entire event live, using an ancient satellite relay. They showed the slave pens, the terrified captives, the faces of the ones they'd saved. Billions saw it. The syndicate's reputation shattered in a single day. In the years that followed, slavery wasn't abolished, but it was driven into deeper, harder places, and the Starseed family kept fighting, growing, building. Levi became a leader, part Elyari, part human, and entirely unbreakable. She piloted the dauntless Sky as her own now, while Jace and Selena retired to a quiet moon, where they gardened, read poetry, and sometimes danced beneath stars they once feared. They had no empire, no medals, but they had stories. And each one was proof that even in the coldest galaxies, love burns brighter than fear.